So, Dirk, why now? Why are you voting for the first time this year?
Um, Cause I ain't had the knowledge back then to understand the voting situation. Cause when I went to jail when I was 17, I couldn't like they had in our head was you can't vote as a felon. So, but now that I got the knowledge and the team around me now, and explaining to me what I have to do to go vote, like I feel like the time is now.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot of voter suppression going around,
Yeah.
so definitely glad that you know your rights. So, why did you decide to share you voting for the first time publicly? I mean, this is something that you could have done in private, so why did you decide to share it with everybody?
Um, I think I just want to change, like just break the barrel where I can use my influence. Uh, but people who still think they can't vote as a felon can still vote and use their influence to their people.
Gotcha.
What's your favorite memory of Ida B. Wells?
My favorite memory of Ida B. Wells is her encounter with the Chesapeake, Ohio Railroad Company. I wrote a play about it entitled The Lady's Car. So in 1884, Ida B. Wells bought a first class ticket to the ladies' car. However, the ladies' car was for whites only. And so the conductor made her go to the colored car. But Ida said, I'm a lady. I'm not riding in the colored car with the colored people because they're smoking and roughhousing and men cussing. So Ida B. Wells said, I'd rather get off the train. So the conductor tried to throw her off the train, but she bit him. So he knew she was feisty. So he had to go get two homies to come drag her off the train. So three men drug this black woman off the train in 1884. And this was a time when African Americans had no rights, could not read, did not work. But Ida B. Wells in her 20s sued the railroad company and won.
Oh, that's hard. That's hard.
Very, very powerful. But that story is unsung because, of course, it set precedent that black people had rights in America. So even today, she's credited with founding the NAACP, being a journalist, but nobody talks about the ladies' car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my favorite memory.
That's mine.
Yeah. So speaking of Ida B. Wells, do you remember the first time you heard about Ida B. Wells?
Yeah. When I was trying to go to Dunbar High School, I grew up in Inglewood area, so it's like a whole nother part of Chicago. So when I was trying to get in and being around Dunbar, like going to the basketball games, that's when I started learning about her.
Gotcha. Yeah, she had a housing project
Yeah.
named, after her in Chicago.
Yeah, it was surrounded by Dunbar, so that's how I got like super familiar with her.
Gotcha. And now the project is no longer there, the housing project, but we're building a monument in her honor.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So growing up in Chicago, I know you probably had many influences. In terms of black leaders, who do you admire?
My father.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Tell me about that. Wow.
Well, as you know, he been locked up. I mean, he was locked up when I was 7 months. He did 26 years. He just got out recently, but our bond and how he used to teach me over the phone is like he was there with me every step of the way. It made me who I am today.
It's beautiful.
What was it like growing up being related to Ida B. Wells? Like, did you feel like fame?
Well, I did not feel famous, but I will tell you, it was Black History Night every night at the dinner table in our house. When it was Black History Month and we were doing school reports, if Ida B. Wells wasn't on the list, and she usually wasn't because she was left out of the history books, my mother would call the teacher and ask, could I be Ida B. Wells? But Ida B. Wells was always a staple there. So it kind of bred the freedom fighter that you have sitting in front of you today. So voting was drilled in me. It was instilled in me. Ida B. Wells was one of the few black women to lead the women's suffrage movement, giving us the right to vote. So voting was something drilled in me from a very young age.
Why do you think they left Ida B. Wells out the history books?
Because Ida was a threat. She was a powerhouse. She was ahead of her time. She was speaking out against lynchings when, because African Americans were afraid to do so. In the 1800s, she traveled all the way to Europe, again, when black people couldn't read, had no rights. She went to Europe exposing what happened here in America. Ida B. Wells was this fearless crusader for justice for all people, and she was just a threat to American society. So they had to leave her out. They had to whitewash her.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Dirk, we can see from the last election that every vote matters, right? So what would you say, what is your advice to other individuals who just really, they think that their vote does not matter, that it does not count?
And I was one of the people who used to think voting didn't count. And as I grew up and I understand more that every vote counts. So I think everybody should vote. It's important.
That's sound advice, because
Yeah.
I mean, you are the voice, right?
Yeah, I just think you should use your voice to vote.
Gotcha. So all this talk about voting, we need to get you registered, right?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm actually excited to.
Okay, let's do it now.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Let's go.
Come on in.